60 to 80% of your telehealth leads never finish the health questionnaire. And if you don't have a proper funnel in place, you're losing all of them. Now, after running email and SMS marketing for dozens of telehealth brands, we've built a high-converting questionnaire abandonment flow that consistently recovers 5 to 15% of abandoned questionnaires into active patients completely on autopilot. And in this video, I'm walking you through the exact technical setup guide inside customer.io, the sequence structure and segmentation that actually converts, and how to keep it fully compliant and supportive while maximizing your results. Now, keep in mind, 99% of abandonment flow guides on YouTube are built for a typical e-commerce brand using Klaviyo. But telehealth questionnaires work completely differently because you're not just selling a product, you're qualifying medical patients. You're not using basic Shopify Klaviyo setup, but a custom-built integration. And patient decision cycles are much longer and require much more trust building. Now, make sure to watch this until the end, because missing even one step in this flow means you're losing thousands in sales every single month. And now, let's dive in. Alright, so let's start with just a simple question. What is questionnaire abandonment flow in the first place? So this is what we call cart or checkout abandonment flow in the telehealth industry. And why? Basically because of the unique nature of telehealth. In order for people to add a product to the cart or checkout, they need to first fill this medical questionnaire to be eligible for the treatment. And since this takes some time and patience to fill, the drop-off rate from the questionnaire is quite high. And this flow operates just like a normal cart abandonment flow or a checkout abandonment flow for a traditional e-commerce brand, but it basically just pushes people to finish the questionnaire instead of getting them back to their cart straight away. So they go back to the questionnaire. Ideally, it would be a pre-filled questionnaire, taking them exactly to the same spot where they left off from, and then they could just continue from there, complete the questionnaire, and then go from there to purchase. And now there are basically two main reasons people abandon your telehealth questionnaires. There's obvious reason, number one, which is just that they got busy, literally. Life happened, they meant to finish but didn't. Maybe they were, browsing the questionnaire, or like they were browsing the site, they started the questionnaire, but then, it takes minutes to fill. Maybe somebody called them, maybe their kid dropped off their cereal on the ground and they needed to start cleaning it or whatever, and then they just literally forgot to finish it. And that's the number one reason. And then number two is they just hit some kind of an objection. Something made them hesitate. Maybe the price was too high. Maybe they didn't trust the safety. Maybe the legitimacy of the brand didn't quite reassure them to make the purchase. And so if you want your abandonment flow to actually convert, you need to handle both of these two main reasons. So you need to take care of the situation where somebody got busy. You need to get them back to the questionnaire, so you need to remind them. And then if they had some sort of an objection, you need to handle those objections so they eventually trust you and are ready to convert. So how to structure the perfect flow to handle both of these situations? Email number one, it should be zero friction, simple, no pressure reminder, just a nudge to remind them, hey, you were filling this questionnaire and now get back to the questionnaire, finish it and convert, or like make your purchase, get started. And then there should be a magic link or a dynamic link back to the pre-filled quiz. So basically, it takes minutes to fill the quiz. You don't want to just push them back to the start of it and then they need to complete it all over again. This reduces the completion rate pretty meaningfully. So if there's any way you can do that, you want to make a dynamic link that takes them exactly to the spot. Let's say they finished 50% of the questionnaire, they get exactly to the same point. They don't need to fill the same questions again that they already answered to, but they can just finish the part that they didn't do up until this point. And then often this email number one is all it takes. If they don't come back after that, it's no longer about forgetting because you already reminded them. It's about friction. And that's where the rest of the flow kicks in. So emails from second until the end of the flow basically should be about identifying your most common objections. So when you are planning the flow, you think about what are the most common objections people are facing. What would make them not convert and finish their questionnaire. Then you dedicate each email to solving one of these objections. So you don't want to like everything necessarily into one, although I also am going to show you a way to do just that as well. But you basically need to dedicate each email to solving at least one of these objections and focus on that specific one, going deep into it, so people are kind of like you're tackling all of the objections that they might have until the end of the flow, where they should not have any objections to use as a reason not to convert, and then they would ideally then sell. You want to use proof, you want to use clarity, you want to reassure them, and then you want to stack momentum. And by the time they finish the flow, every hesitation should be handled. And if they still don't convert, then you just, need to take your loss, and then you need to learn from them. So that's the final thing you can, how can you get value of those people who don't convert? You want to send a final email for them, literally just asking them why did they not convert. It can be like a quick survey or reply prompt, like reply to this email explaining why didn't you convert. And then you want to use those insights across the emails and across the whole funnel to, proactively improve the funnel. So these objections, these reasons for not converting are then handled already on the front end, so people would be ready to convert when the time comes. This isn't a set it and forget it flow. It's actually a conversion engine and a feedback loop in one. So like I said, remind, then handle each objection, then if they still don't convert, get insights, feedback from them, and then optimize the whole flow before that and the whole funnel before that. These objections would not be the reason for not converting anymore in the future. And build it right, and it will quietly be printing you revenue and sales in the background every single week on autopilot. Now, as we move into building the actual high converting questionnaire abandonment flow, you can take the guide in this video and build it all for yourself. Or if you're a telehealth brand doing above 50K per month and want us to handle this entire flow setup plus your whole retention marketing for you, then click the first link in the description to book your free telehealth email marketing audit. Now let's move on to the next part. Alright, and so now let's actually get into how to build this flow inside customer.io. Like I said, this is going to be a tutorial and walkthrough on how to build this for a brand that is using Bask as their backend and then Customer.io as the email and SMS service provider. Because you are watching this video, you will have access to this whole document. You can find the document link from the video description. You can find all the technical details about building this flow. You can find a link to the Miro board that I'm going to walk you through right now, which covers the whole flow structure, what are the emails, what are the angles for each of the emails. And then now in this video, I'm also going to be walking you through how to actually implement this inside Customer.io. But yeah, let's go into, first of all, the technical checklist. If you're using Bask, if you're using Customer.io, the trigger for this flow is going to be session abandoned. The filters, you want to exclude everyone who is in the suppression segment. So basically people who are, the fake addresses, people who you have cleaned away from the list, who have never been opening your emails. You want to clean them out because that helps you save on the platform costs for not paying for unnecessary profiles, but it also helps you protect your deliverability because you're not sending to the wrong and fake addresses that are not opening your emails, and thus you're not risking your emails starting to land into the spam folder. The conversion goal for this flow is order completed within, and then whatever your attribution window is. For example, the default is like 5 days within opening or clicking the email. If they place an order, that's counted as conversion. But whatever you want to use, you can set it up for yourself. The exclusion property, at the start of the flow, you want to add people to the abandonment flow active segment, and then at the end of the flow, you want to remove them from this segment. And why do you do this? This is basically to protect the customer experience and the customer journey, so there's not going to be overlapping communication. So whenever people are going through this specific flow, the abandonment flow, you want to make sure that you're prioritizing this journey and people are not, going through your other newsletter campaigns at the same time or any other flows, because there's going to be overlapping communication. It's just going to harm the conversions, harm the customer experience, make them confused and everything. So that's why you want to make sure that you can identify people who are in the flow and then exclude them from all the other communication in the meanwhile. And then when they exit the flow, they're also going to exit the segment and then they're going to be back on your normal newsletter list. I'm going to show you how to do this in Customer.io in a couple of minutes. Then other technical notes. If you have multiple questionnaires for different treatment categories, you want to remember to segment the flow for each questionnaire ID separately. So for example, let's say you're selling GLP-1s and then you're selling NAD+. You are going to be having a different questionnaire ID and a different questionnaire link as well to both of these treatments. So people who are buying GLP-1, you probably have a different questionnaire for them, and then you have another questionnaire for those who are buying NAD. So in the flow, you don't want to send the same communication to all of these people, but you want to have two segments, two paths in the flow, one for those people who are coming from the GLP-1 questionnaire, and then another one for those who are coming from the NAD questionnaire. And then the links inside those emails are also going to be pointing to the correct questionnaire, and then all the communication, the copy, the design, the images, everything you're talking about in the flow is pointing to the right product and the right treatment, because otherwise people don't care about generic or like NAD instructions if they're willing to buy GLP-1, because they're totally different treatments. So you want to personalize the communication accordingly, and your tech setup needs to be aligned with that as well. And then a second key note, if you have emails that are sharing promotional codes, let's say you have a discount code in the flow, you want to use links in your emails that auto apply these coupon codes to your patient card and checkout when they click the link from the email. And if you are using Bask, again, the link structure that you need to use to make this happen is something like this. Your questionnaire link, so basically your brand.com, then whatever the questionnaire link is, maybe it's the start online visit /GLP-1. That's going to be the normal questionnaire link, and then you need to add this attachment at the end of the link, which is going to be question mark promo equals and then the code, whatever code you're using, you will replace this placeholder with that code. And then when they press that link, you're going to be able to automatically apply the link and the coupon code to their checkout whenever they finish the questionnaire, when they end up to the checkout page. So that's what you want to keep in mind. That helps you with conversions, because the less friction there is, the more conversions you're getting. So you don't want to force people to like look up the code from the email, copy paste it manually and everything. You want to make it as easy as possible for them, because every single click they need to make is always going to be opportunity for them, kind of like to drop off and not convert. So you want to make sure that the journey is as easy as possible for them to go from the start of the questionnaire until the conversion. And so now let's go into the actual flow structure, how this flow looks, before I'm going to be showing you how to implement it. So here you can see this is the flow structure. Like I mentioned, each email should basically contain the right questionnaire link. It can be either a dynamic magic link or then like a dynamic questionnaire link that takes them back to the exact part of the questionnaire where they dropped off from. So what this means is, like, let's say somebody has been filling the questionnaire, it takes at least like 5 minutes to fill it out, and then they drop off in the middle of the flow. You want to make sure that whenever they press the email link and go back to the questionnaire, they're not going to be forced to start it again, but they actually get back to the exact place where they left off from, and they can just finish the part that they didn't do yet. They don't need to start all over again, because if they need to start all over again, that's also going to be much more friction again, and people are, they're tired of starting again and doing the whole process from the start. So that's going to be a meaningful drop-off in terms of conversions, and that's why you want to make sure that people don't have to refill the whole questionnaire, and this increases the completion rate significantly. So that's a keynote. Then when we are actually going into the flow, when the flow triggers from the session abandon event, usually we want to have a time delay of around 1 minute and then actually start the flow. So adding them to the abandonment flow and then starting with the first email. This basically means that, for example, when you're using Busk, the session abandonment event triggers at 1 hour mark. So after 1 hour since they started the questionnaire, if they didn't finish it, if they didn't convert, then the session abandoned event triggers. And that triggers the flow. So at this point, it's already been 1 hour since they started the questionnaire. So we only wait 1 more minute, and then it's basically like 61 minute mark when they are starting to receive the emails from this flow. And then, when they enter the flow finally, you have the create abandonment flow as active, or adding them to the abandonment flow active segment, so you can exclude them from all the other communication like I mentioned. And then after that, you go on with the first email. And the first email is just catering for the first reason of why people didn't convert from your questionnaire that I already covered earlier in this video. So basically, when when something happened and they just forgot to finish it. And this is why the first email needs to be just a super simple reminder to finish what they started. Then have the dynamic link that takes them back to the pre-filled questionnaire to the exact spot where they left off from. Then remind of whatever conversion enhancers you have there. If you have free shipping, have a reminder of that to increase conversion rates. But that's pretty much the whole email. No fluff, no unnecessary copy. These people are already warm. You just need to remind and nudge them to buy and finish the questionnaire. You don't need to do anything else. If you're doing more, you're just again, making it too complicated than it actually needs to be and doing more harm than good. So this is the first email. Then after that, you are waiting around 1 day, 23 hours, for example. And then that means that, it's been exactly one day since they started the questionnaire in the first place. So you're targeting them at the same time when they're most likely to be active again. So let's say it's like their lunch break or something. You're targeting them at the same time that they did the day before. And then you want to start segmenting the flow. So you have a segmentation has order completed at least once over all time. Why do you do this? This is so you can, have a different communication for people who have bought from you in the past versus for completely new prospects. And why do you want to do this again? Basically because you don't want to, first of all, condition people to only buy at a discount. So if somebody has already bought from you in the past, you most likely don't want to give them another chance of discount, because then you're just conditioning them to always wait until they get the discount email and then buy at a discount. But instead, for these people who have already bought from you in the past, you just want to lead with the USPs, the benefits, the social proof, and then the urgency of hey, complete your questionnaire before you want to limit using any kind of discount codes. For these people, for existing customers, you're going to be sending the second email, which is going to be just educating about the USPs and the benefits of the treatment and the brand, and then encouraging them to contact support if needed. So here's an example from Effective. Follow your featured NAD+, complete your quiz, then some copy here, then the USPs and benefits section. What do you get? Fall in love with energy again. Good for, then get started. And then again, at the end, nudge to contact support if they need some help or some more questions answered or whatever. So that's the whole email there. Then you wait another 1 to 2 days, and then you will go with urgency and social proof. So you want to remind of the pre-filled questionnaire expiring if they don't finish it now, and then you want to go with social proof. So here's another example of this. Don't lose the momentum you already started. Start feeling like you again, and then there's hey, contact first name, a little bit of a body copy, then some social proof, reviews, testimonials, and then again USB section. Like when you restart now, you don't have to start over, you just pick up right where you left off. So that's basically it. This is the whole flow. Then you wait like 1 day or so, and then you update the abandonment flow segment, you remove them from there, and then they are able to start reaching or like getting your normal email newsletter communication again and going into the other customer journeys and other flows as well. So this is only obviously if they didn't convert and they exit the flow, and then they start to go with your other normal communication and receive that again. All right, and then the more important part of this flow is the prospects who have never bought from you in the past. And for these people, you have a little bit more emails, and you also have a little bit different approach in general. So the second email here for these people is going to be this plain text FAQ objection handling email coming from founder or the customer success team or something like that. So this is often a really good tactic to increase trust in prospects who have never bought from you before. And you're basically like, again, when you're planning the flow, you want to understand all the key objections people might have, or the key questions people might have, what is stopping them from converting. And then you want to kind of stack all of those objections and handle those in this one long email. And this is basically going to be a plain text email. So you want to keep the tone personal. You want to thank them for their interest, and then offer them help with anything they might need. So this is kind of like a plain text email, looks like it's coming from a real person, no design, just looks like it's coming from like somebody actually sent it from Gmail or something. Here's an example kind of template of how can you do this flow. So the subject line is going to be something like, hey, cart abandoned. Then it starts with like greeting the customer, hey, customer first name. It's, whoever from brand name. I'm reaching out regarding the treatment questionnaire you started earlier. So let's say the GLP-1 questionnaire you started earlier. If you've already completed your questionnaire and started your treatment, thank you. If not, I'm here to assist in any way. To start, here's your unique recovery link that will take you right back to where you left off. If you have questions, hit reply and we'll respond. In the meantime, I've included some common questions and answers below. And then you go with the objection handling. So you have these bolded headlines of like, how does the process work? What is the most affordable way to pay for the treatment? What pharmacy do you use? How long does the process take? All these key objections that people might have, you are stacking the questions and answers inside this one email. And then at the end, hope these are helpful. We're always happy to answer more questions about whatever you have in mind. Just reply warmly, name from brand, and then again the same unique checkout recovery link that is the same dynamic link that takes them back to the questionnaire at the exact spot where they left off from. So this is the structure of this email. Now, if people don't convert from this, then you want to wait another 1 to 2 days or so. Of course, the time delays are something you're always going to be testing anyways. Once the flow is built out, you can start A/B testing the optimal time delays. But here as a baseline, let's say you wait 1 to 2 days, and then you go with an incentive email plus social proof, a little bit smaller discount than on the next one. I'm going to explain that soon. But basically the incentive here in this email is usually a bit higher than on the welcome flow, which is like welcome flow is the one that you're sent to people who come to your website and sign up from your pop-up. So you have some kind of welcome incentive for those people. But then if they don't end up buying from the welcome flow, they don't end up taking that incentive. Logically, you want to have maybe a slightly higher incentive here, so you can then try to convert these people at a little bit higher discount and a little bit higher incentive. Also, the reason you don't have it in the first two emails usually, is because you just need to remind them of like, hey, you forgot to finish your questionnaire. And then here you want to handle all the objections and build trust. And then if they still haven't gone over the fence at this point, then you want to go with the incentive, but you don't want to lose your margins for no reason. So you want to start with without discount, and then only at the third email or so you want to actually move into discounting. And so the reason why do you want to have a little bit higher incentive here than on the welcome flow? Again, if they didn't buy with the lower incentive, a discount ladder can be a good tactic to utilize. So a little bit higher incentive here. And again, it's only given out for prospects who have never ordered before to save on margins and also avoid conditioning returning patients to only buy at a discount. So exactly the reason why we don't use discounts on this side of the flow. Again, then if you go 1 to 2 days longer and they still haven't bought, then you want to go with this best offer and then talk about your USPs and your benefits and your social proof as well. So this is going to be like the final offer, the best offer you have. Some urgency, like offer lasts only for 24 hours, for 48 hours. use the code now or something like that. And this is kind of like the final Hail Mary of like, hey, this is the best offer you can do that still allows you to stay within your margin targets, but actually convert more people into this, because usually the treatments are subscriptions anyway. If you can get those people to buy in and then keep them on the subscription, you're only giving the incentive for the first month of the treatment, and then after that they're going to be paying the normal price. So it's really good for you to get those prospects in, convert them to active patients, and that's why you might be willing to offer a slightly higher incentive here still, if that's the final chance for you of converting those people. Okay, and then 1 to 2 days later again, if they still didn't buy, at this point you're going to be pretty confident, okay, you've gone with 4 different touch points and they still haven't bought. Maybe at this point it's more valuable for you to start collecting information on why they didn't buy, so then you can start to improve your whole front-end funnel. You can start to improve these emails to handle those objections that have been causing these people not to buy. And then you can also push the information to your advertising team to update your website and your website copy and everything to tackle those objections that people have, the reasons why they're not converting right now. So you want to go with a feedback collection email here for those people who didn't convert from this flow in the past, previous emails, and you want to ask them why they didn't convert. You can do this in a couple of different ways. It can be like a quick survey, you can link to a type form, or you can just ask them to reply manually to your email. And then you want to collect the insights you're getting to use both across the emails in the flow and in the other flows as well, and across the whole business. So again, you can push the insights to your advertising team, to your website team, and then you can start to utilize these insights across the whole business and across the whole funnel. Here's an example of how this email can look like. So hey, name here, the co-founder of Brand. Our support team informed me that you haven't taken a shot with us yet. I'd really like to know what's holding you back. Which one sounds most like you? And then there's 5 different options of like, hey, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know where to start, I want to do it, just not sure if now's the time, I'm tight on budget, whatever. And then just hit reply with your letter. I'll read every response and send something back to help. No pressure, no self-pitch, just support. And this is a super simple way to get, first of all, get responses, because people don't need to do anything else but just press reply and then just like type A or B or C or D or E. And then they just press send. So it literally takes them like 2 seconds, 5 to 10 seconds to do this. And then it does a couple of things. First of all, it opens the conversion pathway, so your support team can start to conversate with those people and then eventually like respond to their questions, handle their objections, and then make them convert. But then also it, of course, it boosts your deliverability, because when people respond to your emails, that's a really strong engagement signal for the inbox providers, and it makes sure that your emails from that point on are landing in their primary inbox instead of spam folder or promotions tab or anything like that. And then obviously you're also getting the data of why these people didn't convert, so then you can utilize it across the whole funnel like I already mentioned. So a couple of reasons why this is super good. Then overall, this feedback collection, this kind of like conversational approach of asking people to reply to your support team and have a conversation with them, this can be even utilized much more broadly. So this is kind of like the default structure that how we usually start when we are planning a flow like this. But we've tested it for a couple of telehealth brands in the past, recently. We've actually started to go more with an approach where we have even more of these conversation starter emails. So instead of having like this directly transactional emails, where we're just like giving a code or giving social proof and then just like having CTA to shop now, we're actually going more with these kind of conversation starter emails straight from the get-go, from the first 2 emails already on the flow. And our main goal with those emails is just to push people to reply to us in the same way as here, like, hey, what's holding you back? Reply to us. Or like, hey, we want to help you. We noticed you started your questionnaire but didn't finish it. Reply here and we can help you, or whatever. And then if you have the capacity with your support team to handle those conversations, that's a super good way. We've noticed it work like extremely well for our telehealth brands recently. Just this more natural 2-way conversation instead of just this 1-way emails that we're sending for them, just transactional stuff. You can also tie obviously SMS touchpoints into this flow. If you go with SMS as well, I would suggest keeping the volume and the frequency there a little bit lower, because SMS is expensive and it's more intrusive. So I would probably have like 1 SMS here after the first email, and then probably like a second SMS here at the end with the urgency. I would add those SMS touchpoints into this flow, and then I would test this more conversational approach overall, where instead of this fully transactional approach, we would have these conversation starter emails and also conversation starter SMSs, where it's like, hey, we noticed you started your questionnaire, reply to this SMS, to start a conversation with us or something. And we've been doing that recently, like I said, and it's been yielding really, really good results. So this is the default approach, but then testing the actual conversational approach, leaning more heavily into that can be a super good way, especially in telehealth, where it's a lot about trust building, it's a lot about objection handling, and it's a lot about trusting the people, getting answers to your questions, and then eventually making the conversion. So yeah, I suggest doing that as well. But yeah, this is a really good baseline for you to follow, and then adding the SMS, adding the conversational parts here can be a really good next step. But let's now actually go into how to build this kind of flow inside customer.io. So let me go into our test account. I'm going to show you exactly how this works. So basically, you will go to create campaign. Let's say create new campaign. You want to title this campaign, let's say Abandonment Flow or questionnaire Abandonment Flow. All right, that's the name. Then you want to set a goal for this flow. So let's say order completed within whatever your conversion window is. Let's say 5 days of opening an email. That can be your conversion window, for example. So let's do it like that. For some reason, I think this is a test account, so it's lagging right now. Let's say if I can do this. Oh well, but this is how you would set the goal. For some reason on the test account it's not working right now. Then you would do basically, let me actually try to reload this page. Okay, so you would do the trigger for the flow. So the trigger would be session abandoned again. It would start the flow. Then you would do goal. So again, order completed within opening, now it works. So that's going to be your conversion goal. Then exit, you want to have they either match the conversion criteria or they stop matching the filters. So that's how you do it. And then for filters, you would be adding all of these are explained in the Gamma doc as well that you have access to. But filters, you want to exclude people who are in the suppression segment. So you want to put that here, save changes. And then for frequency, I would suggest having like once within the time period, so they can only enter this flow, let's say once every 60 days or so. So it's not going to be repeated too often and end up being a bad experience for them. Then you would have the 1 minute time delay here. So let's say 1 minute. Then after that, you would go into manual segment update. So you would put people into the abandonment flow active segment, add person to segment, and then you would go with the first email. So here would be email number 1. And then after email number 1, like we had here, you then have the 23-hour time delay. So you would have time delay here, 23 hours. And then after that, you go with true or false split basically. So in this, you have the condition. So order completed has been performed or not. If they have performed on the order completed, they're going to go down this path. So this is the existing customer path. And then if they haven't, they're going to go down the prospect path. So now let's go. Let's add here email number 3. Then we have delay here. So it can be 1 to 2 days. Let's put 1 day in this case, or actually let's put 2 days in this case. So here, and then you would go, 1, 2, and then you would wait 1 more day, and then you would, remove them from the abandonment flow active segment. So again, it's here, manual segment update, remove person from segment, abandonment flow active, and then this is the path here on this side. And then on the other side you would have, time delays again between them. Let's say 1 day is here, then let's say 2 days here in between this one, and then before the final, let's say 2 days again, and then after the final email, if they never convert it, or then you would just have 1 day delay here, and then again remove them from the abandonment flow active. So remove person from segment, abandonment flow active, and save. So now the whole flow skeleton is basically ready. And now it's going to be about actually starting to add the content inside this email. So, if in most of these cases we would use a designed email, but then this email was like the plain text version of the FAQ email that I showed you. But I'm going to show you how to actually do this. I'm not going to fill all this, but I'm going to show you how to implement these emails inside here. So first of all, add content. You can do this in a couple of ways. You can go create a new, let's go back to the classic builder. So you can create a new email, start from scratch. So if you want to do a designed email, you're going to be using the drag and drop builder. If you want to do like the plain text email, you're going to be using the rich text editor. The first email is going to be just a designed email. So it's going to be a drag and drop builder. You're going to be going inside the builder. And then here you can pick your, sender name. You can pick your subject line. So let's say cart abandoned or whatever you want to have here. Forgetting something, then you can have pre-header text. So this is like the preview text. Forgetting something, started today or something like this, whatever. So that can be the subject line and preview text. And then when you actually go inside building this email, you have the different views for mobile and desktop that you want to optimize for. And then you will want to actually go with adding the content here. So drop content blocks, you can add like new content block here, then the content itself. How we do these flows ourselves and the emails in general is that we build the emails inside Figma. So I have an example email here. We build the emails as fully designed emails inside Figma, and then we export them as images inside Customer.io. So let me show you how this works. You're going to be using the slicer tool, so you can slice this from here. So let's say you have one slice here, then you have another slice of this image, and then you have separate slices for the footer as well. So then you would have this part, and this part you would actually need to do like this because there's two different buttons, so you need to make like columns out of it. But for the sake of this video, I'm not gonna make all of this for you, but I'm just gonna show how this works. So you slice the email like this, then you take slice one, you export it, you go like JPEG, 2x size, you export the slice like this, so slice one. All right, then you go to this tool called TinyPNG or whatever compression tool you want to use. You go take the slice, decrease the size of it, so it's gonna be loading faster inside the email. If you have too big file size, the email is gonna load super slowly, which is not good. So then you take the slice from here, download it, and then you go back to Customer.io, you press browse, upload assets, you upload the new slice that you took, you get it from here, and then you add it here. And then you basically just do the same thing again. So you duplicate this, you change image, then you go here, you take slice 2, export again 2x JPEG, export it from here, slice 2, then you go back to TinyPNG, you drop the image here, downloading it from here, then waiting until it comes, and then you take slice 2, you download it again, then you go back to Customer.io, so upload more assets, slice 2, you upload it here, then you have it, you put it here, and you just build the whole email like this. So then you would also build like, let's say you would build the rest of the email in a way that you would have different, you would for example have, if you want to build the buttons manually, you could build the buttons here, and then overall you would just build the whole email like this. But I'm not going to build the, this takes a little bit more time to build the footer because you have to have the columns, you have to have all the icons and everything. So I'm not going to do it inside the video right now, but this is basically how you would do it. And if you want to add the social blocks, you can just add them here and change the colors and everything. So that's how you do this. So now what is important to remember as well is going to be that for all of these image blocks, you want to add alt text. So it's going to explain the image because now you're just like, the email itself is only images. So you want to make sure that all of these images have alt text. So for example, this one, the alt text would be exactly the same text that inside the image you can see. So free shipping on every prescription order. Freya, and then you would have the URL. And for the URL, remember what I showed you. Let's say this is a GLP-1 path. Your GLP-1 questionnaire link would be this. You would just take the link, and then you would use the link here in the URL. And then you would do the same thing for the other images. So here, alt text, you would write the whole text from this part, finish my assessment and everything, and then you would use the same link again. And then you would finalize the whole email. So this is basically how it works. So let's say this is now ready. I'm not going to do the whole footer, but let's say email number 1 is done like this. Then when you have gone through all of these emails, you will just want to turn them on. So sending behavior, so you press send automatically, you switch to that, and then you switch the same thing for all of these other emails as well. So you turn all of them on, you basically turn them live, and then I'm just going to show you, I'm not going to do all of the other ones right now, but I'm going to show you how to do the rich text one, so how to do the plain text one basically. With this one you would have, for example, cart abandoned, can we help you somehow or something like that. And then this would just look like an actual email that somebody sent you personally from like a Gmail. So no design, no anything. Take an example from here. So the one that I was showing to you earlier, copy this text from this one. Let's take it from here fully like this, and then just go inside the flow, copy it here, and you can format it in any way you want. But now you have it here, you would link the same links that I showed in the previous email inside these, so just link it here. Let's take this one, link it here, and so on. And same thing at this part. And then you would save it, and then you would go back to the workflow, and now you have this one, and now you have this one as well. Again, one more note. If you have different paths for, if you have different treatment categories like NAD or GLP-1 as example, you want to have specific communication for both of these paths. So you don't want to just have the one generic one. And how do you do that? You have multi-split branch here at the start of the flow. And then you use here an attribute split. So attribute name is questionnaire ID. Then let's say your GLP-1 questionnaire ID is 100, your NAD questionnaire ID is 101, let's say like that. You have those paths here. And now, let's say this is the GLP-1 path. You would just move this whole into this part. So you would move this whole flow into the GLP-1 path with the GLP-1 links and everything. And then you would make another path for NAD with different content using different links, so using this link instead, and so on. So that's how you would build it all. And then you would do the exact same process of implementing the emails, turning them on once they have been implemented, and then eventually, once everything is ready, you just double check it, you make final check, you make Q&A, and then you just go to start campaign, and you check that everything's correct, and then you press start campaign, or if you want to schedule it for a specific time to start, you use schedule feature. I'm not going to turn it on right now, obviously, because this is just a test account, but this is how you would do this whole process. And yeah, that's pretty much as simple as it is. There's nothing really more to it. So that's how you would implement the whole flow inside customer.io. And that's how you build a high converting questionnaire abandonment flow for your telehealth brand. But keep in mind, this flow is just one piece of a complete telehealth retention system. And if you want to learn more, in the video on screen right now, I break down the entire system we recently implemented for our telehealth brand, taking them from 738,000 to 943,000 in sales in just 15 days. So check it out if you're interested, and I'll see you in the next one.